I stood there, heart pounding, as the last wall of my cabin crumbled into a heap of splintered wood and dust. The bulldozer's roar faded as the operator backed off, leaving my woodland sanctuary, a place I'd poured 3 years of my life into, reduced to rubble. At the edge of my property, the Homeowners Association board stood in a smug huddle, clipboards in hand, nodding like they'd just won a war. My hand shook, my mind racing. This was my home. They'd torn it down while I was gone for 2 measly days, citing my sister. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, until a county truck rolled up, gravel crunching under its tires. Out stepped Margaret Hensley, a land office veteran with a folder thick as a brick and a look that could freeze fire. I knew that look from years working alongside her. She stormed toward the board, while VYing her documents like a weapon, and asked one question that hit like a thunderclap. Who authorized a demolition on land owned by a county registrar? The HOA president's smug grin vanished. His cronies swapped nervous glances. The bulldozer guy cut his engine, sensing the storm brewing. For the first time since I'd arrived to this nightmare, a spark of grim satisfaction flickered in me. They had no clue who they were messing with. My name's Ethan Caldwell. 3 years ago, I was a corporate number cruncher, drowning in spreadsheets and stress. When my uncle left me 5 acres of pristine forest in Pinehurst County, I saw my escape. The land was a dream, towering trees, a bubbling spring, and a creek that kept the fancy lakeside estates development at arm's length. I ditched my city job for a gig at the county land registry. The pay was peanuts, but it gave me time to build my cabin, a modest 800-square-foot haven. I went all in. Solar panels, rainwater system, locally sourced timber, everything permitted and documented in a binder thicker than my arm. It was off-grid, eco-friendly, and built to outlast any code inspection. I thought I'd done everything right. But Lakeside Estates, HOA, had other ideas. 6 months after I finished the cabin, their first notice arrived, fancy paper, embossed logo, demanding I comply with their rules on exterior materials and landscaping. I laughed it off as a mistake. My land wasn't part of their gated kingdom. I sent a polite reply, with Survey Maps Pro VYing it. Their next letter doubled down, claiming my cabin's VY Sewell connection to their community gave them authority. They said it tanked their property values and slapped me with a due $100 a day fine. The name at the bottom? Victor Grayson, HOA president, a guy who just bought a 5,000-square-foot McMansion with a VYEW of my offensive cabin. I decided to face him at their next meeting, showing up with my leather portfolio of permits and surveys. The community center screamed country club, and Victor sat at the head table, gavel in hand, lording over the room. I laid out my case calmly, but he barely glanced at my papers before cutting me off. With a sneer, he claimed the HOA had a new county agreement putting my land under their zone of influence. When I asked for proof, he waved me off. I left fuming, but I didn't get mad, he got smart. At work, I dug into county records and found no such agreement. What I did find was the HOA's twice-rejected application to expand their boundaries. They were bluffing, banking on me folding. That lit a fire in me, not rage, but a cold, calculated resolve. I worked the registry office, so I knew land law inside out. I started combing through Lakeside Estates filings and hit paydirt. Sloppy boundary records, shaky easements, and sketchy transfers. None of it voided homeowners' titles, but it left the HOA's authority on shaky ground. I backed up every record, stored copies in safe places, and kept my cool as the HOA's harassment ramped up. They sent more fines, put up a camera aimed at my cabin, and had residents snap photos like I was running a meth lab. Once I caught Victor and his goons on my land, pointing at my cabin with a map. They scurried off when they saw me. I documented every move, sent legal rebuttals citing statutes, and CC'd the county's legal team, building a paper fortress. I also fortified my property. Boundary markers, private property signs, a row of shrubs along the creek, and a cedar footbridge that screamed, "This is mine." I registered the bridge with the county, another layer of proof. Weekends brought gawkers from Lakeside Estates, yelling about my eyesore. I just wave and keep gardening, letting their shouts bounce off me. At work, I leaned into my role, signing off on land records with extra scrutiny, especially anything tied to my property. It wasn't shady, just thorough. When the HOA tried again to annex my land with a slick, leather-bound proposal backed by a big city law firm, I didn't flinch. I processed it by the book, attaching records of their past failures and legal roadblocks. The county shot it down, citing my documentation. Victor filed a bias complaint, but it went nowhere. My name was on every record, not because I cheated, but because I was good at my job. The real trouble came when new, rich residents moved into lakeside estates, whining about my cabin ruining their million-dollar VYUs. Victor, under pressure, got desperate. He tried code, violations, road access, disputes, anything to break me. County inspectors cleared me every time, my records airtight. Then, in early fall, I went to VY sit my sister for a new baby. I locked up, asked a coworker to check on the place, and figured I was safe. I was wrong. 2 hours in my trip, my coworker called, frantic. A demolition crew was at my cabin. HOA board members barking orders, while VYing a supposed emergency order. I called Margaret Hensley, my boss, who could halt illegal demolitions. She confirmed no order existed and raced to my property. I floored it back, but by the time I got there, my cabin was gone, solar panels smashed, rainwater system trashed, 3 years of work obliterated. The HOA board stood there, grinning like they'd won. Neighbors snapped photos, treating it like a festival. I was numb, until Margaret tore into Victor, snatching his order and exposing it as a fakey doctored form with no signatures, no authority. This is illegal demolition, trespassing, and destruction of private property, she snapped, on land owned by a county registrar. Victor's face went white. His cronies backed away. The bulldozer guy, realizing he'd been duped, started packing up. Margaret called the sheriff and county attorney. Sheriff Laura Bennett, a no-nonsense pro I knew from work, arrived and surveyed the wreckage. "This is one of the worst property violations I've seen," she said, pen flying across her notebook. The contractor showed Tex Pro VYing Victor lied about permits and rushed the job while I was gone. Neighbors who'd cheered the demolition slunk away as the truth hit. Margaret pulled me aside, promising county funds for temporary housing. I nodded, still reeling, as the legal gears started turning. I moved into a cramped town apartment and handed over my mountain of record surveys, permits, HOA letters. The county attorney zeroed in on Victor's forged document, a felony. The investigation snowballed, uncovering the HOA's dirty laundry. Illegal fees, secret meetings, selective rule enforcement. Homeowners came forward, spilling stories of fines and harassment. The fallout was brutal. The HOA got slapped with a due, law $150,000 fine. Victor resigned, facing fraud charges. His board dodged jail, but got sued by the contractor and angry residents. I won damages triple my cabin's value, enough to rebuild bigger and better. The county also shielded my land from future HOA overreach. Best of all, they found Lakeside Estate's main utility line water, power, internet ran under my property on a botched easement. The judge ordered the HOA to pay me due la $500 a month, forever, with every board member's signature on the check. It wasn't just money, it was justice. I broke ground on a new cabin 500 square feet, still green but tougher, with upgraded solar and a stone fireplace built on the old foundation, a nod to my comeback. Local contractors poured their hearts into it, adding flourishes for free. The community shifted. The new HOA president, a retired judge named Clara Thornton, signed off on my permits, a peace offering. Some residents apologized. One couple even brought a casserole. Then, 3 months in, Victor showed up, a shadow of his old self. "I was wrong," he mumbled, eyes on the ground. "I'm sorry. I could have sent him packing, but I didn't." "Thanks for coming," I said. "Build with respect next time, not just for show." He nodded, maybe learning something. Maybe not. The first easement check arrived, signed by the new board, with a note from Clara about rebuilding trust. I banked it, smiling, and planned a nature preserve with the funds, something for wildlife and neighbors alike. The fight I never wanted changed me. I'd come here for solitude, but found purpose friends among contractors, a voice in county meetings, a place in this messy, human community. My new cabin rose, its porch wide, its windows catching the forest light. On move-in day, Margaret brought a brass plaque certifying my home. As I hung it, deer grazed at the edge of my land, untouchable now. The monthly checks would keep coming, each one a reminder. Mess with the wrong guy, and you'll pay. What do you think? Was I too soft on Victor, or was forgiveness the ultimate power move? Should I have pushed for harsher penalties against the HOA, or was the easement fee punishment enough? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button if you felt the sting of justice, and subscribe for more stories where the little guy fights back.